Elena? You okay? Can I come in?
Yeah.
You know what, hon? Don't shut it this much, because if you had to get out, if there's a fire or something, it's really hard. I'll have Jim sand it a little. Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you come down? We'll have a cold drink, watch TV or something, or talk.
Yeah.
All right. Are you sure?
Yeah.
One of the issues that is quite surprising is the presence of members of your family in your films. I wonder if they have any previous experience, especially your mother, which is outstanding in the films that you have made. Sometimes she is one of the main characters, sometimes she's in the back, but at the same time, she's a presence.
Absolutely.
And has she any background in acting, or it's just started with you?
It started with me. I mean, I always loved the way she told stories, and I loved her. I mean, she's a performative person, you know, she loves to entertain people, and she goes on long rants, and she goes on these long tangents, and then we'll come back around to the beginning of the story, and you have no idea how her brain works. And I always loved that, and I wanted that to be a part of the movies. And my father went to study film at Harper when Ken Jacobs was there, and a lot of people were there. So he actually ended up having to leave that because my mother was back in Queens and it was a long drive, and she threatened to break up with him. So we dropped out of school to be with my mother. And he gave up on filmmaking and continued with photography. But so he's a part of my movies. He always helps produce them, and sometimes the sound is in a lot of them for small roles. He's going to be in The Perverts in a larger role. But I think so basically, it's always, I find, like, the people I'm around, I always start thinking about roles I want them to play in the movies. And then I'm always making movies, so I wouldn't see them if I didn't put them in the movies. So or somehow, you know, involve them, whether it's cast or crew.
But it's truly amazing, your mother especially, because she really, when you see someone like that, you could think that she is, in a way, interpreting herself.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see her films, she's really a character, completely different one from the other. The mood, the way of behaving,
Mm-hmm.
the way that she speaks even. It's quite different what she does in Exit Elena, which is, like, as I told you before, not now in this conversation, a kind of phallus woman.
Yeah.
She directs everything.
Yeah.
And then you see how she is in Uncertain Terms, which is a lovely person, a kind of, you know, a kind of woman who...
Yeah, like an Earth Mother.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
But without being New Age,
Yeah.
you know, at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a kind of materialistic woman, take care, you have said. But how do you accomplish that? Is something that you direct on her, or is something that she creates by herself?
That's something that she creates by herself. I don't think I can direct her. I think that I put her in a situation and then allow her to react, because I can't sit down with her and talk to her about her character. I need to remind her of certain facts on set, you know, right before we start shooting, because she forgets the characters' names. But then it just comes through her interacting with the other characters. She's very good, very intuitive person in terms of what needs to be done. And if I then, you know, if things aren't going the way they should, if the scene is falling flat, I'll remind her of things she said before and tell that story, do that thing, because I know her so well. So it's almost like this character. I mean, it's like in her two large roles so far, it's always an exaggerated version of a part of her. So it's always bringing that out.
And let's go back to the last two films you've made.
Yes.
And Thousand Times, especially Stick in Heaven. You made a decision in Stick in Heaven, which is to shoot it with a video which represents the way of an image from the 90s where the whole tale is being taking place. So why you have decided that, of course I can imagine, but I would like to understand a little bit further, because it's a big decision, the quality of image change, but why you have made that decision in a way to reproduce where the story is taking place in terms of the quality and the materiality of the image?
So, I mean, it did begin as a period piece. Then, as I started meeting up with the actors and we talked about what kind of comedy it would be and what it was all about, I started watching a lot of documentaries from the 80s and 90s about drug addicts and about cults. And it just, as soon as I started watching them, there's this sense of doom. And I think it's built into the way, like the cameras that were used, the way the light feels, the way everything reads. And so I just knew that it then had to be a period piece. I knew it had to have that sense of doom to it. And so as soon as we basically, I was watching and rewatching John Alpert's movies. He made a movie called Junkie Jr. and Life of Crime, Part 1 and Part 2. And I went to meet with him and I asked him, what camera did you use on Junkie Jr.? And he's like, I don't remember. So then I ended up the producer and I did like endless research online to find out what camera he might have used. We went on YouTube basically and would just look at clips because people will always post, clips and tests they do with their old cameras, and eventually stumbled on the Ikigami. And as soon as I saw the way that it had the ghosting, the light trails and the way the reds, well, if you have like a halo, like if I were to shoot you right now because there's a window behind you, part of you would be green as I pan across you, part of you would be red and blue. This is the way the tubes, it's a tube camera with 3 tubes, a red tube, a green tube, and a blue tube. And then, so it's how the tubes react to light. And it's like something very strange. And also, it alters reality, which HD does not do. HD presents reality in a very mediocre way, which you then have to alter in post-production. But to shoot on something that immediately alters reality, we did very little color correction on it, was extremely gratifying. Because after shooting 2 films on HD, where you're like, I'm not happy with this, while you're shooting it, you're like, you have to wait for post-production to make it even look like something you could stomach. It was such a pleasure to be able to shoot on something that distorts reality, that changes reality, that gives you, that makes, it has a quality to it, which film has, of course, but, we've lost with high definition. And so that was a pleasure. So that was a pleasure that came from the decision to use the camera, but I didn't expect to have such. It made me so happy every day on set to just be able to watch the way distorted.
I understand your point. And it's really something in the film. That decision makes a difference, a big difference. Tell me something. We were discussing the other day that some people have, in a way, frame your work as a mumblecore film. I don't agree at all about it, because in the way that mumblecore usually are self-centered in a kind of generation group. Usually people don't work in those films. They're like, like a kind of Dazed and Confused after many years.
Yeah.
Dazed and Confused was conceived in a way. But I would like to see, how do you see that difference? Because it's quite clear it's low-budget films, but beyond that, there is any kind of intersection between that movement and your films?
I think just as there are far too many filmmakers these days who don't know how to make films, who make terrible work, there are too many people calling themselves critics. And I mean, I think that people who would just like lazily slap that label on, which is at this point not even, I don't even know what it means anymore. It's like a thing that happened 10 years ago and it's basically died, and everyone who supposedly was a part of it at the beginning has gone off in totally different directions from where they started. So I think it's just lazy criticism, to be honest.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of funny though.
Deep sigh.
Yeah, really. Go ahead.
We met at a show, and I noticed her. She's getting harassed by some.
Let me ask you something else. How do you perceive in terms of the American heritage of cinema? Because for me, what I saw for the first time, it reminds me the first Cassavetes.
Yeah.
Just the very beginning from Cassavetes.
Yeah.
When he was even Faces.
Yes.
Especially, and but there are references that you feel, not that you are imitating them, but that you belong to that heritage in American cinema.
It's the only heritage I want to belong to, I think, because I would never be although I love Sam Fuller, I love Douglas Sirk. Douglas Sirk obviously was not born an American, but came.
Yeah, of course.
Shoot there. But I would never be able to put up with a studio. I would never be able to put up Sam Fuller. Like, he was a storyteller, and he was able to convince people of these. Like, he could just like command. I don't know. He was an insane guy, and he was able to somehow get his way within a system. I'm more along the lines of, John Cassavetes is far more interesting to me because he just had people work when they could work and didn't have big budgets. I mean, not Husbands, I guess, was probably. I mean, like, he started to get larger budgets.
He was becoming part of the system.
Yeah, but then I mean, Love Streams is perhaps his most experimental, and it's my favorite movie of his. And certainly, he was on this way to making these surreal, bizarre movies, mixing in his form of naturalism, and
it shows something with him in terms more on aesthetics. On the other hand, I think sometimes he was looking for something which was much more unstable in terms of the psychology of the characters. He seems to be working till now in the verge of neuroticism or neurotics.
Like neuroses.
Neurosis, sorry.
Yeah.
And at the same time, people who are on the verge of society, like they're unfit.
Yes.
That's Fuller would be more near in the sense of that. But how do you perceive that? Because it seems to me that this is till now your film are around.
But it's self-portraiture to a certain degree because that's how I feel. And so I always feel outside of things, and I always feel that's just my general. That's how I was born. That's how my mother feels. How my father feels. We feel like we're just outside of whatever whether it's our families or like the larger family, or it's in social situations. I've always felt cut off. So I think that's something that I apply to, and that's what I see in my characters and can connect to, and that's what appeals to me about these people.
But at the same time, it's fantastic because your films are not films which are narcissistic in the sense that it came from you, of course, but it's not a reproduction of what you are in a way.
No, it's total and complete collaboration. It's a destruction of the sense of dictatorship. A director as dictatorship. I think that's just a bogus idea to me, and I don't think it leads to anything interesting. If you're going to work with people, you have them bring themselves to the movie.
And tell me, Nathan, where did you study cinema? If you study.
I studied screenwriting very briefly at New York University, but I never studied production. And it was at the video store, at Kim's Video Store, which has become quite infamous because it was where a lot of filmmakers, New York filmmakers, would just go and rent their films. And some of Sean Williams, who's a DP on many of the films now, he was the manager there, so it was quite a place, all these people crossing.
That was university.
And Caitlin Shields also worked there, all these people who are now popping up.
Muy bien, es para nosotros un verdadero placer haber tenido a Nathan Silver en el cinematógrafo. Recuerden, yo estoy convencido, si bien ya es un director que va de festivales en festivales, pronto va a haber sorpresas en uno que tiene lugar en Suiza. Estuvo este año con sus dos películas, tanto Uncertain Terms como Stinking Heaven en Rotterdam. Ahí arrancó este año Silver. Yo creo que va a ser uno de los directores que va a ser fundamentales de lo que alguna vez se llamó cine independiente estadounidense. No es por ponerle una etiqueta, sino que verdaderamente hay en Silver un cine que es independiente. ¿Independiente de qué? De una cantidad de constricciones que tienen los autores, que tienen los directores a la hora de hacer cine en general. Un verdadero privilegio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And don't forget this name, Mr. Silver.